record on this computer. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Stephen and Contrara here with Compassionate Finance and Abella. And today we're going to be talking about the second part of one of our most requested topics, which is predictive analytics. Last week, Dr. Baird discussed how you can kind of set up your business for success by using spreadsheets and doing kind of different things to just kind of prep so you know what your schedule is going to be like and you can really understand how you can get your team on board with it. Now we're going to talk about the financial side and how you can, what type of services and different things you can do to help boost your earnings, boost your production, and really hit some of those goals like the most productive dentist in America, Dr. Bruce Baird, has done in the past. So good morning, Dr. Baird. How are you doing today?
Good, Stephen. Good. Doing great. Excited that the election's going to be over tomorrow, and I don't just get it done. I'm tired of the ads. I'm tired of the text messages and everything else. I'm just ready to move the country forward, and it's going to happen. Whether you like one candidate or the other, it's going to happen. So I just hope everybody stays safe, and I hope this COVID stuff will settle down a little bit for us. So it's certainly scary, but I believe in personal responsibility. It's time to take care of yourself. If you get it, well, you probably went to something that you probably weren't supposed to go to, or you weren't wearing the protective gear that you should have been wearing. So I like that. So anyway, but we're going to talk today about predictive analytics part 2. And last week, I talked specifically about, setting up a QuickBooks account and having expenses be put in every single category. And there's no such thing as miscellaneous. And what that does is that helps you as a dentist not be so uptight about the roller coaster of dentistry. I did that 5-part series in dental economics that was about the roller coaster, because one month we're up, the next month we're down, one month we're up, the next month we're down. And that's something that stresses you out. It stresses your team out. It ruins bonuses if you have certain bonus structures for teams and you have these great months and bad months. So I'm going to make the assumption that you watched this last webinar and that you understand the QuickBooks and how I'm going to set QuickBooks up in each category. My chart of accounts are going to tell me if there's not a payment on something that I have a budget for. It's called budget to actual. Then I'm going to go, why has there not been a payment? It's because I've budgeted for everything that's going on in my business. So I'm going to make the assumption that you understand that part of it. But how do I take that information and take it to the next level? And what I mean by that is you can have expenses of X, Y, and Z. And it's what we call our profitability incentive point at Productive Dentist Academy. That means you've paid everybody in the business, every expense, everything that you do, including, we use a number 35% of what I did in the practice as part of the profitability incentive point, 35% of what the associate did, hygiene, whatever they did, their salaries and how that's computed. But I want every single expense. Now, in order to have a number, I'm able to very simply look at my QuickBooks. And when I look at that at the bottom, it says, if I do this much revenue, which is the revenue part of this cycle, which we didn't talk about much last time, we just talked about the expense. But if I do this much revenue, then I can expect to make this much money. And I'm doing this for next month. Okay. So this is, well, let's say for November. I already know, because I'm organized. I'm not waiting for my accountant to tell me what I spent. I've got budgets in every item. But the production part of this, or the collections part of this, how do we influence that so that we can grow our business? How do we influence that And that's done by setting goals and by having the entire team understand up front what we have to produce next month. So I'm going to use an example. We have a schedule that has, my schedule on it, and I'm working 2 days a week, or let's say you're working 3, or you're working 4. So you count up the number of days you're working next month. And I look at it, and I look at the month, and I go, okay, that I've got 16 days, or I've got 8 days, I've got 10 days, I've got 12, whatever it is. And if I produce, I'm going to use a number, $500 an hour. If I produce $500 an hour, and if I collect 98% of what I produce, or 100%, or 95%, which would not be good, but whatever it is that you have now historically gone back and looked at, because you know what you collect on an ongoing basis. So if you're going to do $500 an hour and you're going to work, 100 hours, you're going to do 50,000 in production. Okay. If you do 1,000 an hour, you're going to be at, 100,000 in production. But you know what you've done in the past, because that's part of this exercise. I want to know exactly what my production per hour is and how my team understands that, because that sets my daily goal. This makes sense, because so for my 8 days, I would work 64 hours a month, but I guaranteed, and you're going to guarantee your practice X amount of dollars. So I want to make sure that I produce at least $128,000 for the office. So what would that mean? That would mean I have to do 2,000 an hour to get to that. Now, could I do that? Yes, I've been doing that consistently for years. What are you doing consistently? Because you're going to set your income model up based upon what you do and what goals you're now setting to ensure that you're going to be able to net a certain amount at the end of the month. Now, so let's just say I'm going to use these simple numbers, but I'm going to work 10 days next month, and I need to do 128,000. I would divide that out, and it would give me a production per hour in order to do that number. I would say, let's give an example. I rented a yacht in Greece several years ago, and I had been producing 23, 24, 2,500 an hour. But I was going to take part of 2 weeks in September and part of 2 weeks in October on this trip, or actually 15 days in each month. I like to split it up so that I'm not wrecking the practice during that time. But what I found was I was only going to be working 6 days one month and 6 days the next month. Now, that may be that you're going to take time off and you're going to work 10 days or 12 days one month and 12 days the next. When you've been used to working, oh gosh, you might have been used to working 20 days a month. And so how do I do this? How do I predictably keep my business solvent if I'm taking time off? And how do I consistently produce at a high level, even though I'm not working that many days? Well, let me tell the story about that, because we left mid-September, came back mid-October, but I began loading my schedule in July. I knew that I was not going to have that many days. So instead of me producing 2,000 an hour, maybe it was 2,500 or 3,000 an hour. Maybe you were doing 500 an hour or 700 an hour or 800 an hour, but because you're going to work less days for that month, you need to be doing 1,000 an hour. And most of us have done that. Most dentists have done 400 an hour one month. They've done 1,000 an hour. If you look at it daily, some days you do 1,000 an hour, but what we're doing is we're predictively putting patients where we need them for our schedule. And so I began, I'd get an all on 4 case, and I'd say, Bob, let's get you set up that first week of September. And this is in July. Let's do the workups. Let's do all this stuff. So everybody that I had during July and August, I began setting up for September and October. And the reason I did that was because I knew my production numbers were going to be much higher, and I could take time off, and it would not affect my business at all. Because that 128,000, it doesn't matter if I do it in 10 hours or if I do it in 100 hours, but I have to predictably tell my team what are our goals, and my team would already know. They knew I was committed to 128,000 a month, which, in the last couple of years, I was probably doing closer to 200 to 250,000 a month on 2 days. And that's not bragging. That is just telling you the truth, because we were doing high-end procedures. We're working on train wrecks. We're doing that stuff so that I was able to produce at a high level. But it doesn't matter where you're at. I don't care if you're at $425 an hour, which is the average dentist in the U.S., or whether you're at $1,000 an hour. It makes no difference as long as you know what your expenses are and you commit to producing X amount in your business. If you can't commit to doing that, and you can't get your team on board to help you book that, and you're not doing enough diagnosis and treatment planning to fulfill that, then you're not going to have a very successful business. And most dentists have not been through a great business course. This is about as good a business course as you're going to get, just understanding this alone. Because once you understand this, all your stress goes away, because you know exactly what you have to do every month. You go, gosh, if I'm doing 128, I'm doing great. The business is doing great. If you see your expenses creeping up or going above budget, you start to hammer on the budget. You start to look at it and say, why are we spending more here? Well, because I'm doing more high-end dentistry. So my lab bill crept up 2 percentage points. Okay. My production, because I'm doing this high, should go with that. So all of these things are part of what we call predictive analytics, whether it be on the expense side or whether it be on the revenue side. But on the revenue side, that's where you just simply look at how many hours that you worked. And let's look backwards at first. Look at how many hours I worked in January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. And what was my production and collection numbers? Because that's going to give you your actuals. And then what you want to do, and that's without any commitment. You just, like most dentists, it's just going up and down, up and down. 1 month it's great, the next month it's not. But you're going to go back and you're going to take an average of that. And let's just say your average was 600 an hour. Now you're going to look at next month. You're going to say, I'm going to commit to 600 an hour, and this is how much revenue it's going to give me. You're going to look at your expenses. You're going to say, it covers my revenue. It covers my expenses. And I should expect a profit of $4,000 or $5,000, whatever it is. Now, if you look at that commitment and you look at your expenses and you go, I'm going to lose money, that's not going to work. So that's where you say, okay, I need to do $635 an hour to cover all my expenses. Now, what my expectation is that you're going to be getting money if you're the owner, you're going to be getting money at the end of the month for being an owner. It's part of your profit. It's not just the 35% that you do that we've arbitrarily set. I'm picking up another 8% or 10%. So if we're doing 100,000, I'm picking up another 10 grand for being an owner. But I'm doing it predictively. I'm doing it because I understand my business. And I really hope that you guys can understand that. And I'm available here for questions. You can also send me questions to bruce@productivedentist.com. And I would love to, we can answer questions now. You can send me those and we'll go from there. So Stephen, let's see if we have any questions, and let's go from there.
Yeah, does anybody who's on with us today have any questions that they want to go ahead and type on that question bar or in the chat? I have the chat open as well, and you can ask questions there. I guess my question would be like, Dr. Baird, just looking at some of the things that are going on, this is kind of a little off topic. Do you think we're in danger of all of a lockdown or anything like that happening to where practices would close again?
Yeah, I don't believe that's going to happen again. It could in particular states.
Mhm.
It is possible in certain states. I don't think the state of Texas is going to lock down. I know the election is going to give us different ideas, different thoughts, but dentistry can't survive another 2-month lockdown.
Yeah.
At least dentists who are not doing the things that we're talking about can't survive. We're looking at probably 10 to 15% of the dentists out there already that are facing bankruptcy or refinancing or trying to rework their businesses. And we've seen that pretty much across the board. Some states are having more trouble than others because when you lock down the economy, even if you're open, it makes it very difficult. So when you start talking about this profitability incentive point and committing to production and collection, that is in it's even more important now to understand your business than ever before, because there are certain things you can control on the expense side to try to help give yourself a little less exposure in the market. But now would be the time, if it's not in a lockdown, but now would be the time to do your marketing. Even when we had docs, when we were locked down for 8 weeks, we still had doctors that were still marketing and still advertising. They may not be marketing at the same level, but the ones who were able to do that are the ones who recovered very, very quickly. And so I was real pleased with the dentists that we work with at Productive Dentist Academy. Most of them, matter of fact, one of our docs, Nikki Green in Fort Worth, she actually recovered every single dollar they were down during the lockdown in the next 5 months. They set goals, they did it, and they literally produced more than they've ever produced for those 5 months. And she's on faculty with us at Productive Dentist Academy, and she just knocked it out of the park. And of course, the other thing is that's where compassionate finance plays a huge role, because by using compassionate finance and Abella, by using compassionate finance and by hitting, and having 100,000 in your portfolio, 300,000 in your portfolio, you have revenue coming in every month. So it is a concern. I don't think we're going to see a nationwide lockdown, but they just locked down Europe or England, France, Spain. I just don't think it makes sense for, to have the cure for this worse than what it is. And, kids in school and doing all that stuff. So it'll be interesting to see what happens this next 48 to 72 hours.
Yes, definitely. And I know we talked a lot about, infections and like the practice of dentistry going through different things like AIDS and other epidemics over the years. And I don't feel like I've heard any stories about any like big outbreaks tied to a dental office or anything like that. So hopefully, this will just continue as is and everybody will be doing.
Yeah. And people still are going to have emergencies.
Yep.
And the truth is, we as dentists are probably more protected while we're working on patients than anybody else out there. I mean, a physician, yeah, he's wearing a mask and gloves. Okay. We've got air, ventilating in our ops. We've got big suctions. We've got all kinds of stuff going on now. And so I think we're very, very well protected. There's been very few cases. In fact, I've heard of some dentists getting COVID,
Mm-hmm.
but I've not heard of anybody getting COVID from a patient in ops. They were probably at a Halloween party where nobody was wearing masks. And I've been to 10 parties where nobody's wearing masks. And I'm just kind of like going, okay, here's my rule. If I felt like I was a high risk, and I have a history of high blood pressure, I'm in really good health right now. But if I was concerned, it's up to me to wear the darn mask and to socially distance and do that. And if I get it and I haven't been doing that, well, shame on me. They've told us what to do. So that's kind of where we're at, and, I also know that there's, 1% death rate. And I guess if it's my time, there's probably 1% death rate of me getting hit pulling out of my neighborhood, so I don't know. It's just really hard. And in different parts of the country, there are really different rules and regs. So who's right? I don't know. I just don't know. I know that when I go out, I wear my mask, I go into the restaurants, I sit down, I take it off, I eat. I'm not putting it back on between bites like they're doing in California. You know, and I'm trying to use common sense and hopefully, but I really don't want the government to tell me what to do. So that's my take.
Well, one of the good things is going out there and getting fresh air. So I know you're going to hit the golf course today. So
I'm
that'll
taking
get some good
grandsons,
vitamin D, right?
taking the two of the grandsons out, and we're going to hit some balls at the practice range probably in the next 30 minutes. So we're going to be out there doing that. So anyway, if anybody has questions, feel free, send it to Bruce at productivedentist.com, send it to Stephen at Compassionate Finance, and we will do an entire webinar podcast on that. So thanks, guys.
Thank you. Have a great week.
Look forward to next week.